Welcome, Sham and Manoj. It's so nice to see both of you here after so many years and having studied together at the film school at Prasad. And it is such a nice meeting that you have come now. Finally, you're debuting with your first film. And so nice that you're partners together to make a film which has taken, I think, 8 years in making.
Close to 5.
Your thinking process starts from the diploma film days itself. Yeah. Can you go back and say, how did that film and this film connect?
In film school, things come so quickly together, no? Like from music video, we have 1 month for the diploma.
Right.
And so we had already kept some ideas in case we are not able to come up with something. Right. And one of that was a newspaper clipping of the Skylab, the people wearing helmets for Skylab. So I think somewhere during that time when we were making and producing a lot of films, we were also reading a lot and watching a lot of movies. But Sham had shown me a Borge short story, and that and then we started reading Marquez, and we definitely thought towards we resonated both with the politics of it. We were quite bored with the usual, because once you go through the training that happens and all the discussions that you and Sunny sir and Dharayan sir and Uma ma'am, and then we started going into, especially because we are there in the film school, we started experimenting and we wanted to also build narratives that were more close to also different ways of building politics into it. We started seeing politics in the image making, in visuals, in the kind of stories that can happen and why they are in the fringes, why mainstream goes into one kind of filmmaking. And so at that point it was more like now you can do what you want, and we wanted to actually fine tune and have control in the shoot. And even all the constraints that film school throws at you helps you become like more formalistic and try and achieve that because shoots happen quickly. One shoot happens and then you start working on your friend's shoot, and then you keep thinking about it and discussing it. I remember you, by that time you had marked us, like you didn't look into everybody's film, but you thought I was going to like, and then so you wanted to read the script before, for my film alone, you wanted to read the script just to make sure I don't go over, I don't ask for more reels and
exactly.
Like that. So then I remember you sat with your wife and read it, and you came up to me and said, I don't understand anything, but I trust you.
I had a very similar response, except I voluntarily sent my script to sir, and I still remember the reply that he gave, which was that perhaps this is a kind of narrative that defies the very process of creating a narrative. And I was like, okay sir, how do I process this? But
so coming to the topic, so how did you move from that kind of scape, social political scape, to a dreamscape like this? In the sense, I personally, let me also say that I don't think this is so much of magical realism as much as surrealism, because magical realism needs a ground reality to spring off from. Whereas this is almost surrealistic. It is entirely in the realm of the dream from the beginning to the
end. I think definitely there is an aspect of surrealism like what you're saying, because at some level we were given the opportunity within the constraints of this film to do what we want, which is essentially the basis of surrealism, which is you can do whatever you want as long as it just comes to you. So in that sense, I agree, but whether it is within a reality or not, somewhere we sort of went beyond the idea that in any way film is not real.
Yes.
So why focus on that even? Why is that question even pertinent?
So even surrealism has a certain contextualization for itself. For example, the Andalusian Dog is in the context of the Catholicism that was enveloping Spain at that time. So your film is also a surrealistic film, but within a certain context. And it is that context with which you try to put the whole dreams and a dream going into delusions. So where do you see the demarcation between dreams and delusions?
Within this film, I don't think there is that very clear demarcation as such. We have a certain scene which is called as the dream within the story of the film, but very early on we decided that maybe the entire village portion that comes could be the dream. Then there was another thought that maybe the entire thing is the dream of Anjali Patil's character Vanga. So because of that, this whole dream within dream in a non-Christopher Nolan sense started to.
I think it's perfectly valid. The thing is that you are also saying that the Freudian notion of the dream was largely oriented towards a sexual desire, and as if that was the end all and beginning all of everything. But I think your film breaks that.
Yes. So to come back to how we came here, I think this particular film was completely conceived in G. Rajesh's head, our writer's head. It was like, he came and we started working. We were working on another film. He joined us in AD, and then we dropped that and we started writing. So there was this time where we were writing a lot of films, and then we started. Rajesh comes from a serious literature background in Tamil, and he's also read a lot of world literature. So we started connecting the dots, and it felt like there was another script that really was close to all of us feeling like, okay, this makes sense. But then when he started discussing this idea, it felt both as it was the most commercial idea that we could come up with in terms of something that, one thing we were very clear about was our basic premise that we wanted to put it in theatre and watch it with the audience here in Tamil Nadu. This was the basic premise.
Right.
So what happened between that and this is just to traverse this, it's taken us that time.
Okay.
In film school you had no choice but to see the films that we made, so we could also we could make what we wanted.
So some people who saw the film, they said, you know what, you could not make head or tail of this film,
Or tail.
I said, no, I think you know the tail of the film, or horse tail. At least at the beginning, the film begins with the tail and moves towards the head, So tell me in your imaginary, in your whole method.
No, so I was, I understand why you're coming. So for us, both the reading of it and visually what we're trying to achieve was definitely, we started going into certain themes, like when you ask the difference between delusions and dreams, for us also, it also connects to memories, consciousness. So these things which are very close to cinema, but cinema is so stuck with telling you a reduced version of reality that everybody is comfortable with, so that you don't go back with anything. But the canvas and the experience of it, what it possibly offers as an edge, how can we go to the edge of that medium? Because for us, there is so much tension in the cinema that people watch. The mass medium's tension that is possible. It's not like seeing it as an art or artist where it can go into a niche. There is no tension particularly there. Of course, you, as a personal expression, people can do, and then there are scientific works, exploratory works, so many things. But only the mass medium has tension, wherein that it has to reach the audience, so it has to be reduced. But it also has the biggest canvas available and the richest experience available. So you can actually go for a new kind of experience. Some things have always amazed us, like ghost films, the kind of experience, some films about religious, Amman films and Jesus Christ films. A lot of these things, I think they break the medium to an edge where suddenly, collectively, we are feeling something that cinema can aspire to, on the edge. So, somewhere there, we started writing these themes of dreams, delusions, and also memories getting suppressed that come back as a dream. So, of course, it's a commentary on Freud as it is a commentary on MJ. So, a lot of it in this film, because it is in layers, it kind of feels like we are supporting Freud, but it's completely anti-Oedipal in nature. So for us to arrive there, we have to go through so many in this script.
Right.
So
see, one of the things I read about the structuring of your work, your process, was that I believe you originally wanted to do it as an anthology of 6 different films.
That was not us. That was some journalist who made something.
That is not true at all.
Not true at all.
The reason why I felt that maybe is because you have discrete sections, the mathematician section, the village section, the girls in the pond section. These are all very discrete sections. It means they are in a way quite because once we finish with the mathematician, we don't come back to that person again. Once we finish with this, the gentleman who comes to his home and drinks Remy Martin and he is dead, it's over. And then you come to this village and this girl who is aborted, that's over. So I
but
thought
I
that,
don't think that's so true, because the same characters play different roles within the village.
But that is not very clear that the same characters are playing different roles.
Yeah, but for us as makers, it is very clear, because
but somewhere I felt that it was not, really saying, why is this person coming back? Say, for example, the guy who was scratching his armpits, in that BD shop, he comes again here, somebody. But I did not fathom.
Actually, all the characters are like that, no? So, the person who's sitting next to him in the bank is Kauski Kripakaran, is his sister, Ramu's sister in the village. Like you said, the tea shop, the person in the tea shop, the grandfather is the math sir. Chetan sir, who plays the Remy Martin guy, he is the girl's father, and that becomes one of the key points for us, because he's essentially, I mean, at the end of the film, what is revealed
I sincerely wish that it was a little more apparent. It became a little more apparent. It was suddenly too, I would say, disconnected, because they take a long time between these two scenes. They don't happen in immediate frequency. See? Now that we see, you clearly told me that there is really no original idea of making it into a, multi-part, anthology. I'm happy, it did not become like that. But I sincerely felt, I wanted to ask you this question, that for a film which is dealing largely with dreams and delusions, did you not think that there was too much of talking in the film?
The script is dense. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yes,
the script does have a lot of things that are,
expressed
at some level,
dialogue.
at some level, some people are coming to us and saying it feels artificial that these people are saying these things, and certainly there is a certain amount that we are also as filmmakers learning from our experience through this. But I still think that what was spoken is still important for the film. Everything sort of tied itself together theoretically, and visually we tried our best to bring it out, because ultimately Kuthiraivaal is a visual storytelling form. It's not a written storytelling form. It has its roots within a literary space, but the form is visual.
Very true. So that's why I felt, because of the overloading of the dialogue, some scenes tend to look a little too long, especially, for example, when the girl is found pregnant and the whole family is just shouting and shouting and shouting. The camera is just, observing it, never getting into any sides, So how did you manage time of these scenes and the mathematics sequence, this sequence, when the girl has an abortion? How did you manage the time? How did you conceive of how long these scenes should be?
We did not go into that kind of limitation. One thing was, coming back to also the dialogue, we knew Rajesh's vision had to be kept intact, and tampering with it was not something that we wanted to do. We definitely wanted to crack it in terms of how to, not make us feel that, not, by not, because when you started taking away, coming back to what I was saying before, we were very sure that we were going to put it in theaters for our audience to watch. So when we started removing some of the, if we thought about removing the lines, we thought it will become even more inaccessible. So at least for us, when we read it, now we get it after some discussion, and we know what points to hit and what points to hold. So we try to hold that. For example, if in the Maxar scene was a much larger scene than this, so there have been portions that have been taken out as such
because of it being too wordy.
Right.
Taken out as such. But apart from that, a lot of things have the temporality of it was only achieved during the edit. What the visualization did was, it was shot in a language where it could be done on the edit table, or it could not be. For example, every shot was continuously negating itself or being neutral. So because it was continuously negating itself and constantly moving, it could be cut into two. So if you are seeing, say, the Josier scene, it's just two shots, two huge shots. Two huge shots. So when we had the time in shoot, we'll go for those 2 shots. If we didn't have the time in shoot, our hope is our single shot, because we had too many things to manage in terms of the logistics. So some 20 people had to work, and it looked like theatre if you look from the other side, from the crane and Karthik and the actor with all his tail and dialogues and everything going. So what it was shot in such a way that it could be cut, but first we didn't cut it. We were very like happy and and all that. And then when we started cutting it, thankfully it just like fell in place.
The
and
rhythm changed overall when
definitely.
we started making what was a predominantly linear structure completely non-linear.
Right. You know, I like this idea that somewhere the film tries to connect. I think you manage that to an extent. That those 2 guys, that girl and the boy, are actually these 2 in the room, in this mirror room, you know. In this, they grow up, they are this. In a way, it may not be true at all, it must all be part of a dream. But somewhere there is that, the looks of the 2 people and then the gestures of these 2 people kind of says that this was a past and this was, so a past within a past, you know, in a way. So I like that very much, you know, the way you manage to connect that. And the well in which there's a reflection of that person in the well. How did you do that?
By mistake. I mean, we were definitely interested in not just treating it as a real reflection, but I think the physics of it was not something that I understood. I think that was entirely your idea as to what that reflection should be.
This was stolen from a painting. Woodblock painting. Of course, and Rajesh was constantly talking. Inside the script, there's this thing about mirror and the well, and this reflection scene. So it was also a kind of visual interpretation of what was there before mirror, where a man can see, and so humans can see themselves and reflect. So the only thing was the water was the only other thing. So to treat that from the camera's point of view as a mirror.
Right.
So that was it. That was stolen from it's not very apparent in the woodblock painting. In the woodblock painting, what looks like one of the mushy water that you see on the road during the rain. A puddle, and inside. But that puddle's form you won't actually see. It looks like it's a burnt paper edges and the contours are not proper. The perspectives of woodworks are always like from that angle. So it should have been reversed. If I am seeing it in a puddle,
the building that is reflected in the puddle should be upside down.
Upside down.
But it is
right
side up. So
it was a great. I love that image. You know, the girl being duplicated there. You know, she's here and she's there also. That is a very good image. What I also liked, very much was that you are moving beyond, in terms of the sexuality of dreams as analyzed by Freud and even by Lacan, that you have moved forward to say that we have to study the modern trend in the LGBTQ movement, that it is no more binary. So am I right in believing that the way you painted that road is in the color, the pride colors?
It's there in the script. The overall kind of notion is represented in the script, and sometimes it's misinterpreted when in the Joseph scene it's talking about that. In fact, I think there is a kind of a connection between Freud and Van Gogh, where you can think of them as non-binary, both so it was not particularly in that intention, and it was also not in terms of because rainbow is already being used as a symbol, and it's not to trying to claim that symbol or something, but in a kind of embrace towards that symbol.
So I think the answer is also non-binary. It's yes and no.
Yeah, it's very good. I think that it's because somewhere I felt that Saravanan character is almost queer. He is not interested in sex at all. He's a queer character, and he's trying to discover himself as to what should be his desire. So the search for a desire, the search for where is his pleasure zone, that seems to be continuing till the end of the film. He still has not found his pleasure zone. But tell me, in the set that you constructed, with mirrors and some green screen the trains, what was the visualization that went behind that?
I think mirrors, like Manoj was saying, there is a very strong obsession within the script about reflection, about the other, which is not you. That is the reflection, and that got extrapolated within his living space using these mirrors. Train, again, that also is a symbol within the script that for us at some level feels like train of thought. Feels like that circular journey, which is also why the train seems to be moving all around the house.
Yes, yes, and it's also noisy. It's about the urban, the pollution and the way it disrupts. It's very disruptive kind of a transportation
Manoj, do you have
system.
any other interpretation for the train?
For the train, no. For the house and the mirrors, for this film, we were fully exploring this article by Manikol called "Scene from Nowhere." So we were meditating on it, and then we were trying to visualize it. So we've actually done an interesting video that I'd like to show you, which is kind of we put a miniature painting inside After Effects, and then by tilting it, we just show how many perspectives are in it. So I've not seen anything else like it. But coming back to what. See, we wanted to show multitude and multiple perspectives. Also, obsessing on this idea, it's for want of a better word, neutrality. This idea of multitude represented by, because there's only one camera. But what we wanted the eye to observe was too many things. So, if for example, because of this not wanting to go away from that one place, if there was a window, that is another shot that is another perspective that we can present. So all of it is green screen. And then mirrors also tend to, on a non-parallel plane, they give different, so everything is on non-parallel planes. So that, and then we started constructing with call to do the entire, it was a very small, but it looks like a big budget film, but it's a very small budget film compared to the amount of work that's gone into it. So the choice to shoot in sets was again, so we found one angle from all our research from the article, where there is one kind of flattening that's happening from one point up there and looking down, where we can get everything, as in if you are here you can get the ceiling. You see that kind of arrangement in earlier kind of cave paintings and wood blocks, all kind of trying to represent a whole rather than a single point perspective that happened from there. So what happened was so that point became the major point that we go to point everywhere, and of course it has to constantly keep moving. So all of this made sure that we needed to be on a set. And mirrors were there to help us break the perspective even more, bring more perspectives. So each frame is just filled up with as many things to look at. And now Ramu Tangaraj, our production designer, constructed it with wheels. So for each scene, as we chose a point, we also chose a set. So that we can just
the walls, it would be the same wall but at different angles to sort of
that's so nice.
break perspective.
Wonderful. So this brings me to the most important question today. So how comfortable were you handling M.G. Ramachandran and his image in this movie? It seems to be a little tentative, not bang going into it. That is M.G. Ramachandran a reality, or is he a construct, a dream construct of the Tamil people?
Okay, I mean, at some level, I suppose maybe you are feeling that because as an individual, I am born well past his demise. So for me, he is a construct in that sense because he is past my demise. But as a symbol, as an image, or as a pop culture icon, he still resides today. Like on the streets around us, he's still around. So, to explore this, I mean, if we were going to explore anything within the culture sphere within Tamil Nadu, it would be difficult to do it without touching on such an icon. So, in that sense, he plays a part, and in some sense he almost comes alive in the village portion, because there is that scene where he passes away as well.
Yes, yes.
So
did you feel that I personally felt a little tentative, because you never wanted to commit anywhere to an actual, somebody dressed up like MGR, as you see in villages, they come around with that topi cap. Oh, I know, this is that topi and cap.
The truth is, there was actually a scene like that in the script, but unfortunately we were unable to get the logistics right to shoot it. So, in fact, there is a portion in the script where one of the characters was to have MGR
tattooed.
Tattooed on the chest.
Okay.
Because that was a thing that a lot of them
that's a
did.
big movement at that time. Yeah, I wish that happened. The reason is that
call sheet correctly.
Yeah, also because it becomes in this film a very local phenomenon. I'm looking at how somebody in Berlin or somebody in New York or London would say, what is that cap and that thing floating, They will not know at all. If we had somewhere in the film some impersonation, and even the song, that MGR song which you do have, Raja and Parvai, it doesn't have this costume. That is a dream song.
Right.
It's very lovely to play a dream song inside a dream. It's a wonderful idea. But then, somewhere I wish this, because it's a very important scene, the idea of...
But there is an image of him in his cap and kannadi attire in one of the graffiti outside the village.
Outside, yes, and that house.
And simultaneously there is also one which is a little harder to catch within the painting in Freud's house. I mean, but you're right. Someone outside would probably require us to this thing. But at the same time, if we were to analyze or interpret a film like Spirit of Beehive, we would not know sitting here unless we knew what was happening there. That itself, I see it as some sort of a hegemony.
So, for us, that was not a priority, and we are uncomfortable. Yes, uncomfortable. For the plain reason that, like I said, the priority was to make it here, make it for people here. And that is also what makes us uncomfortable. For example, there are parts that are already censored in the scene, in the Josier scene, that are pertaining to this.
Okay.
So if a dialogue can be censored, imagine if we brought him and that basic scene, in the scene, it was mentioned in the dream. So it would have meant we throw the tomato at his face. So as it is, just to use his voice, we have to tread carefully. Even in interviews like this, we have to tread carefully because what we worked hard, since it's being made here, and since the censor already is watching so closely what's happening, we still can't talk about it. Whatever can be done. So it's of course it's all about M.S.S. Pandian's image trap and the commentary and setting the context. And for a film as strange as this, it's almost like we are taking recluse from that story there, and then finishing.
There's that quote, no? Whatever can be said will be said. Everything else we leave to silence.
So this gives me at the point as to the camera. Why is it always in this stilted? We have a kind of a diagonal angle. All the time. I felt at some moment that I wish we had used some kind of telephoto lenses. To go a little more, make dreams that uncomfortable intimacy, It's showing the wide, always has a certain sense of, I'm seeing everything, In the dreams, you don't see everything like that, you see.
Right. Yeah, I suppose that is the beauty of this script itself. That in terms of interpretation, like I said, everyone drew their own storyboard, so everyone could interpret it.
All 14 of us finished storyboard for that.
So you're right. Some people had their storyboards like this, but ultimately only one shot could be taken. Right. So there was a lot that was lost that could be interpreted in different ways. There were telephoto shots that were taken, except they were taken from very far away.
There's a lot of telephoto lens, sir. I think what you meant was getting closer to people,
closer and squeezing the perspective.
Like for example, the shots. So what we use the telephoto lens again to achieve a kind of miniature painting effect. So most of the shots you are seeing are 400. The entire length. We use the entire range.
All the village portions are.
Every shot actually in the village is kind of using the entire range of 40 to 400. Like even the well from when the shot when the boy goes and discovers the MJ's Topi and Kannadi. There also from 40 to 400 we have finished one range it has. So in terms of the lensing itself, but the idea is what happens in 400 is actually extremely interesting if you use for a wide composition. What happens is it squeezes everything, vast distances into one small area. But what I think you meant, and I feel in retrospect that there's something that we could not achieve within those heavy shooting days, a kind of being closer to actors.
So my last question is that, you see, you worked with a very, very experimental music director, Martin, and you have given him a film which is very local, rooted in this landscape, you know. How did you communicate to him as to what you wanted?
Sir, he essentially would take reels, rewatch multiple times, and Manoj says that he would have graphs all over the house. God knows what is being plotted on X and Y axis to achieve.
Because at no point of time did I ever hear one which would be a typical rural music, you know. But not that I'm asking, but can that have been a fusion of that with something else, you know? Because it sounded almost like a music composed by John Cage or Stockhausen, one of the experimental, what we call as concrete music, avant-garde musicians in Europe, you know. How did you communicate to him? I mean, back and forth.
Actually, what happened was, I think if you're talking about the film that you watched just now in theatres, that has both Martin and Pradeep's music.
Yes.
It has a healthy mix of both. Yes. A lot of it is newly composed by Pradeep, and from those compositions and a lot more came as we were producing songs album. We have a songs album. You should go listen.
Okay, I must listen to it.
Which we again try. See, this is kind of like a complete trying to reach people and trying to completely surrender to them. What we tried to do was set context for the film within by making 5 songs for it. Really nice songs. Satish Raja, our co-director, he wrote 2 songs. Uma ma'am wrote 2 songs. So it's a very nice album to listen to. And this we released before so that they listen to songs and then they connected somehow tangentially. So this particular version has a mix of both Martin's and Pradeep's, and there's a little bit of Parai and other sounds that happen in one Talata song comes out. The one you watched in Goa, there are 2 versions of the film.
Yes.
So there are 2 versions. It's the same film, but one version has only Martin's music throughout. And Martin was a virtuoso kind of thing where so if you go to his house, it'll be like one small tiny room with a tiny laptop and all his instruments from what not, toy piano, everything, and then graphs and everything, and he'll just be like watching. So the only thing that we did was send him the finished film kind of on the edit, put subtitles, make him watch it, and then only when it felt like this didn't work in few instances we wanted something more. Only for those points did we go back. Otherwise, we were actually huge fans of him in the sense that both with Martin and Pradeep, it felt like they're connected to the film. Like I've seen Martin perform his work in close groups, and it felt like the fact that he always tries. He's never worked in harmony for like such a long time now. It felt like it fit the anti-aesthetic that we are trying to build here.
Very true. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.